We're at the Ottawa Courthouse. This is a long play version of the quick report that we did concerning sharing insights about the Ottawa Courthouse as a public service to people who use the courthouse to get fair adjudication pursuant to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms stipulates that people who avail themselves of judicial review are entitled to a fair and impartial process. Unfortunately, in practice, this does not necessarily occur. We all know in the United States the craziness that is going on with respect to the court system, with respect to all sorts of intrigue associated with the Trump administration, all kinds of craziness we see going on down there. Now, the difference between what is going on in Canada and the United States, that in the United States, at least there is a culture which seems to be vigilant about getting things out in the open. It's right to free speech, so that we have in the United States a media which is relatively proactive about reporting situations of misconduct and ethical practices, violation of their constitution, all sorts of stuff like that. And we see in Canada the results of that by all kinds of information released by various media sources and individuals on YouTube about the mayhem and craziness and absurdity which is taking place in the Trump administration. Unfortunately, in Canada, we don't have the same culture of that. If you have any type of situation, even 5 or 10% as bad as experiences of people in the judicial and other systems under the Trump administration, I can tell you from my observation, there's a 99% chance that the Canadian media will simply ignore it. And as a result, people don't feel inclined to necessarily share their stories of atrocities taking place with respect to the judicial system and the political system. So now we come to how the Ontario or the Ottawa Courthouse fits the situation. As a disclaimer to this, I would say that there are some extremely excellent judges at the Ottawa Courthouse, A+. They're idealists. They all practice ethical conduct, these particular judges I'm referring to. However, in observation of many years, there seems to have come to light a group of judges that for some interesting reason, coincident or not, are all affiliated to or all at least alumni of the University of Ottawa Law School. Again, I'm not imputing that the University of Ottawa Law School itself has anything to do with this. I'm saying that they all are from research affiliated to an alumni of the University of Ottawa Faculty of Law. Now, what is going on with these University of Faculty of Law graduates who become judges? Well, interesting things happening. Give you an example. 2015, an individual suspects that their mother is being exploited by and used for a medical experiment. We all know in history, the history of medical experiments often involving minorities and other people. We know about official reports of MK Ultra. These are various government-endorsed experiments put in the closed door, which are designed to extract information illegally from people for various so-called projects endorsed by government and various clique interests associated with government. Well, we all know about these things are going on, and indeed the MK Ultra, the victims are, last time I checked, we're seeking to pursue a class action lawsuit regarding that. Notwithstanding this, in 2015, the individual suspected that their mother was being exploited for a medical experiment. They were being subject to all kinds of abuses, domestic violence that was perpetuated. The son of this person decided that enough is enough. They seen the domestic violence. It was time to get emergency motion in court to see her mother, which the abusers were seeking to block. So in 2015, the individual made an emergency motion before a judge that they later found out that was an alumni at the University of Ottawa. The judge seemed to be very enthusiastic about getting access to the mother, because why wouldn't a judge be enthusiastic about granting access? Because the individual had a note saying that she was being abused, and the son, as a responsible son, took effort to access the mother to stop this abuse. So he seemed to be very enthusiastic, this judge. Then all of a sudden, he gets called in the back room. Well, we don't know. In terms of who's getting called in the back room, only certain individuals have access to judges' chambers in the back room, so it had to have been a government operative of some kind. So he's with this government operative for a few minutes, this particular judge, and judge comes out. He goes from enthusiastic to wanting to give access. He was just about to give an order to give access, and then judge comes out all huffy and puffy for apparently no reason other than his conversation with whoever he was having a conversation with in the background. This blocked access, said he wasn't going to grant it, gave some big lecture spiel about whatever, that should get legal advice, whatever, and blocked access. Well, February 2016, so this happened in December 2015, and this is a situation, not just history, it is an ongoing issue. 2016, what happened? Well, February 2016, he gets an order, default order, from another judge, not from the University of Ottawa. The judge stipulates that he is entitled to see his mother every day for 3 o'clock, every day, in order to ensure her safety and survival. Okay, so this is February 2016. So what happens after that, 2016? So he goes to the house in order to deliver this judicial order. He gets blocked. Police there say that they can't intervene without, imminent reason. Few months, a couple of months, he, waits. All of a sudden, a lawyer pops out of nowhere. Lawyer said he's there to speak on behalf of be the lawyer for the husband of the wife who was experiencing the abuse. Says, oh yeah, he's the lawyer. So this lawyer pops out of nowhere, and it's like, the son says, wait a second. The son says, how much are you being paid? Lawyer says, oh, $300 an hour. Son says, wait a second, I know for a fact that this individual that you allege that you represent cannot afford a $300 an hour. Who are you really getting the money from, and who are you really representing? He says he is not at liberty to say. Well, he goes in front of a courtroom and in front of another judge who reverses that decision. Guess what? That judge who reversed the decision, another University of Ottawa alumni. So I see we're getting the picture here. So another University of Ottawa alumni pops up, undermines it, the decision. Then in another case, another trial ensues. The other judge says that, you should be entitled to see your mother. You should be entitled to see your mother. We'll send your religious representative is entitled to check on her well-being. Now that order, that particular direction came from a judge not from the University of Ottawa, not affiliated University of Ottawa law school as far as alumni. So we see we're getting a pattern here. Next case, the individual thinks he's going to get the same judge as before, but then a judge pops up who seizes the case. And when a judge seizes the case, for people not familiar with law, it means that no other judge can intercede in the case. So this judge who intercedes in the case is from another University of Ottawa alumni. And one thing I should also add to this is that there was also a previous small claims court action, which a judge was just about to also grant access. All of a sudden, the lawyer gives some kind of weird wink, and all of a sudden the judge changed their mind. So we're seeing a pattern here of judges affiliated to the University of Ottawa law school, at least alumni I should say, are subject to some kind of coercion by nefarious elements of some kind. So the judge who takes over the case decides that, okay, this University of Ottawa alumni judge is going to declare this individual who was trying to find his mom a vexatious litigant, which means that he could not no longer proceed with any litigation, and to prevent him from possibly getting access to another non-University of Ottawa alumni faculty of law judge in order to pursue his case. So so the result of all this is that the mom who he was trying to save, who is continued subject to these medical abuses, medical experiments, during the space of time, she lost the ability, thanks to this abuse that was being perpetuated against her, lost the ability to speak, to write. All these atrocities were taking place, and she could no longer walk thanks to the abuse. And this was all under the auspices of these callous judges who seem to have sold their soul to some nefarious element that they were being controlled by, who wanted whatever experiments that they were conducting to be perpetuated against this lady who was a dedicated community servant, registered nurse. This is the type of information that we are not getting as Canadians. This is the kind of nefarious things which are going on, and rest assured there's a lot worse going on than that. The result of this particular callous activities by these University of Ottawa faculty of law alumni judges is the premature death of this person, thanks to their apparent coordinated efforts. So this is the kind of thing which is taking place, which you will not see in the CBC. CBC, it was communicated to the CBC, this particular story, when it was occurring. CBC didn't want to touch it. Nobody wanted to touch it. The established media didn't want to touch it. This is the problem we have going on in Canadian society. So when we have a situation and see that the craziness going on in the States, at least we're able to see that craziness. We as Canadians are being denied coverage on critical issues that are associated with unethical conduct, racial discrimination, overall corruption, and it's being perpetuated under the guise and by nefarious elements who are controlling these media organizations, who are creating a environment of silence around this kind of corruption, this kind of nefarious activities. Again, thank you must be made to those judges who saw the type of terribleness going on and decided to intervene. Unfortunately, this was being subverted by the callous activities of these judges, and this is the kind of information which is not being put forth. The activities are manifest and continuing. We will also talk about the Ottawa police background to this whole story, which is just as bizarre. The Ottawa police who reinforce this. See, this whole situation was started by the Ottawa police not doing its job. We'll talk about that in a subsequent video. The Ottawa police started this. Again, there are a lot of ethical police in the Ottawa police, but there are two groups that seem to operate in the Ottawa police. I call them the regular rank and file police that is there doing this job, trying to make sure that the city is safe for all of us. And then there's what I call the police, in quotation marks, who are nefarious elements carrying a badge, who are there to do nefarious activities while carrying the badge. And this is the kind of dynamic which this person who was subjugated to a premature death as a result of the activities of these judges. This is the type of environment that we have in the city. So when we talk about and see the stuff going on in the United States, the craziness going on in the United States, rest assured there is craziness happening right here in Canada. But it is being cloaked, it is being oppressed by various establishment interests which seek to create an illusion of tranquility when underneath the surface of our tranquil Canadian society that we all aspire to, there is a pattern of oppression, specifically targeting minorities of various kinds, particularly Black people, Indigenous communities, the type of experiences of Indigenous communities where they're living in communities who don't have running water, who don't have basic health care. This is the type of environment which is being perpetuated by the very activities of these judges, which seek to reinforce the system of hierarchical oppression against certain elements which are being perpetuated in society. So when we see the homeless people picking out of garbage cans, when we see Indigenous people, despite all our desire for Indigenous people to have equality, despite all our desire for everybody to be treated and our society to aspire to the just society for all, our ability as Canadians to achieve the just society, to achieve the society that we actually, in substance, aside from the rhetoric, our ability to achieve the society is being undermined by a handful of nefarious elements who have managed to infiltrate our judicial system, our political system, our education systems, various systems. They have infiltrated them and have seek to perpetuate that under a cloud of tranquility which only exists on the surface but is being perpetuated by elements like those at the Ottawa Courthouse that seek to sell their soul in order to enable the most atrocious, evil activities that you can imagine is being perpetuated by the sellers of their soul, who, I can rest assure you that these ethical judges at the Ottawa Courthouse I doubt that any of them know about all this terribleness that their colleagues are perpetuating. I highly doubt it, because these judges operate in silos. They operate in a clandestine context that you would have to observe their activities intentionally for many years in order to see what is going on.